Hello. Well, this task is going to get us ready for our next call. We are ready to schedule our discovery call number 2 to look at your vehicles and your vehicle information that will be in your travel tracker. In the request form, there will be a drop-down where your requesters can indicate the type of vehicle that they would like to reserve. And so this is one of the things you need to think about. Well, what are the type of vehicles we offer in our district for our requesters to use or to ask for? Many districts just have their yellow buses and their extracurricular trips or athletic trips all go on yellow buses, and that's all they use. And if that's the case, then you would just have your yellow bus as the type of vehicle that would even be offered. Some districts will have, an activity bus or a white bus, the white fleet or something like that. And so maybe you want to, in addition to your yellow buses, you might have something called an activity bus. Some districts, the activity bus is also a yellow bus. And so think about, whether or not you want to distinguish between those two somehow in what your requesters are going to ask for. Approved charters are another option here. If you want to put approved charters in your list of types of vehicles to reserve, the system will ask the requester to also provide the approved charter company that they're using. So you can offer that. Now, if it is not important to you and your district for transportation to know the company that's providing the charter, you probably don't want to include the approved charter in your list here. We can add an area in the request form that the requester can indicate that information in a different way and not in this drop down where they don't have to provide the name of the company. You just want to know that they're using a charter. It doesn't matter to you which company it is, or you don't want to provide a list of those approved charter companies. They can just indicate it by typing it into a field. Whether or not you want to, have a car in here, personal vehicle, something like that. Again, that's up to you. If you need to know that that's what they're wanting to use, we can put it in the drop down like it is showing here, or it can just be part of that, what we would call external transportation, where they're not really using a drop down. It's just they're just typing it in for the information. So that's one of the things to consider is what type of vehicles do you want to have listed in your database. Now, if you for all the different types of vehicles that you have, you will also need to give me vehicles that meet that type, that are part of that category, so to speak. So if you have yellow buses, then you'll be giving me yellow bus numbers and individual yellow buses. If you want to use activity buses, you'll provide activity bus numbers, and so on and so forth. So that goes, if we have approved charters, there's going to have to be some approved charters in your vehicle list, and so on and so forth. So think about that, and we can certainly set it up that way. That's not a problem. But anything that we do have listed here, we would need examples of those buses in your table. So think about that. What would your bus numbers, what would that information be? And if you are going to use approved charters in the list, you'll need to provide me with approved charter companies that I can add in. Same thing with contractors. If you use contractors, you'll need to provide me a list of the different contractors that you can use. And then we would put contractor buses into your list. We can also accommodate a lot of other information about your vehicles if you would like to provide. Things like VIN numbers and make and model and the year, capacity information, all of that can be in there. Not all of that is really utilized in the assignment piece, but you could add it in. One thing we will need to know about each one of your vehicles is whether or not it has a wheelchair lift. So that is something that you'll want to provide. When we are setting up your table, you don't need to necessarily distinguish a yellow bus with a lift, yellow bus without a lift. You don't have to distinguish that in the drop down, because notice here there's a question, do you need a wheelchair lift? And so the way the system is set up, if they say yes there, then when you go to make the assignment, you'll only see vehicles that do have the wheelchair lift indicated in the table. So we've taken care of that. You don't have to have that as a type of vehicle, like a sped bus or anything like that. It can still just be the yellow bus, and then they indicate they need a lift, and that will only show, for example, your sped buses. So think about those things. With regard to the actual vehicles and your vehicle table. Now, in addition to thinking about that, we will also talk about in our call who assigns the vehicles, who was responsible for that. Does transportation make all the assignments, or do you have what we would call vehicle owners in the school locations who are responsible for assigning their vehicles? And where are those vehicles? Are all of your vehicles at transportation? Transportation assigns everything. All the vehicles are at transportation. Or do you have vehicles that are out in your schools? And the schools have their own vehicles, and you want to know where those vehicles are when you make the assignment. Or you have the owners in the school that are only have the authority to assign their vehicles. And so think about that as well. It's possible that you have your vehicles in locations other than schools or transportation. Maybe you have them in certain zones or lots, maybe. So you think about that and where these vehicles are located, because you'll want to be able to give us that information as well. So that gives you some things to think about. Go ahead and take a look at your calendar and the Calendly link in the email, and select a date and a time where we can have our discovery call number 2 to talk about vehicles. After we have had that call, then we will provide you with the vehicle worksheet, and we'll move on through this milestone of getting your vehicle tables set up. So we look forward to hearing from you and getting our vehicle discovery call scheduled and having that very soon. Thank you. Once you have scheduled the call, be sure you mark this task done.